Hello, Grace Harbor Church. My name is Quinn, and we are January 20th. We're going through Genesis, which Genesis is a great book. It's the book of beginnings. And here we are in Genesis chapter 25 and 26, where we see Abraham got another wife and had, despite his age, which was the question at the beginning. I think it's funny. He had more sons, again, with his new wife. And then he died of old age, and then Isaac and Rebekah starts talking about them. God solidifies and reiterates the promise to Isaac, the same as his father. And Isaac prays for children since Rebekah is barren. And the Lord blesses and gives Jacob and Esau, two nations of the same womb. And Esau is often called Edom, which sounds like red in Hebrew, because he came out a hairy red baby, which was probably terrifying in some ways. And then I think it's funny that Isaac makes the exact same mistake that his father did twice, where he came up with those that were more powerful, and he started referring to his wife as his sister. And once again, the Lord protects, and the other people weren't happy, and rightfully so. Before he moves on, Isaac sows a field and reaps it 100-fold, which is unheard of. If you know anything about crops, especially historically, that is such bounty that it's mind-boggling. And then, after God's promise to Isaac is whenever, Esau sold his future for a bowl of stew, which is pretty funny. Although Jacob was a trickster, he did swindle him. But the line of Jacob is who God chose to continue the legacy of Abraham to bring the promise to the nations through Jesus. There are a few other details in this chapter that are interesting. Such as Esau at 40 took, I think it was two wives, and it said that they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. And so Isaac, much in the same way, followed the path of his father, including digging wells all throughout the land, where the wells were filled up by the Philistines, a name that I'm sure you're probably familiar with if you know anything about the Bible, including, King David with the Philistines and Goliath. But they filled in at Abraham's wells. And so whenever Isaac comes and digs them back up and there's water and it's fruitful, the people of that region, specifically around with the Philistines, said, no, that's ours, before Isaac moved off and dug the next one, being a peaceful man. And he dug, I think it was 3 wells, redug the 3 wells in a row, and they kept saying, that's ours, that's ours, that's ours. And then he dug the last one, which he named, the exact name isn't a huge deal, but it means space, as in there's enough space the Lord has provided. And so Isaac, in many ways, is the exact fulfillment of what Abraham was, as was promised. And what's also interesting is that after Abraham dies, it talks about Ishmael, the son of the Egyptian handmaiden that was born to him first, because Sarah couldn't hold on to the promise and she wanted to take matters into her own hands, and talks about his sons and how long he lived. It's also interesting to me that one of the sons of Abraham through the third woman was named Midian. And that's a name that we see later in the Exodus as the one that took Moses in. It was a priest of Midian. And so I think it's really interesting to see how each of the sons of Abraham have their place in history. And I don't know all of the different ones, but you trace back, and with Ishmael you get the Arab people, with Isaac you get the Hebrew people, and then you have many other peoples from the other sons of Abraham. Likely what we see in throughout all the different people groups in the Middle East are sons of Abraham through one of the other women. And it's interesting that in the Muslim faith, they revere Abraham just as much as we do. However, they point to Ishmael as the fulfillment and not of Isaac. In fact, they have in the Quran, they have the exact same story of bringing his son up to sacrifice. And instead of it being Isaac, it's actually Ishmael in the Quran. And so the devil tells 100 truths to sell one lie. So he switches one thing, he switches who it is and the fulfillment, and you get a lie. I think that's interesting. But the Lord is good, the Lord is sovereign, and we see throughout these scriptures how God's plan continues to unfold through Abraham and Isaac and soon to be Jacob, and then on to the rest of the descendants.